Hello and welcome to the 57th edition of Randomer Nintendo. I am one of your three hosts today. I am Jason. And let me tell you, before we get to the other guys, you guys out there missed some compelling banter. We just talked without recording like fools. And the people I was talking with were
Isn't that just day-to-day life?
Angel.
We don't always record everything we talk.
I mean, it was like quality. It was like we just need to record our entire lives, I think is the takeaway. It was like there were good conversations and they weren't on mic. But anyway, yeah, that's Angel, who pointed out that's just life. Hi, Angel.
Hi, Jason.
And we also have Kevin, who hasn't yet said anything on mic, but we were all talking off. Hi, Kevin.
Heyo.
How you guys doing? As if we weren't just talking. How are you guys doing?
Pretty dandy, I would say. So all right. I wish I had more to follow that up yet. I'll get back to you.
Okay, great. Sounds good. I know you ran out of fuel because we spent it all pre-record. What about you, Kevin? How's it going?
I'm doing all right. I'm about to get incredibly busy with work starting this week, which sucks, but it is what it is. I did have an okay 2 months off, so.
Yeah, at least you got that. That must have been really nice. Did you get any good games in during that? Gaming in?
What?
Did you get a good gaming in during your time off?
No, I think it was just a lot of Snap as usual.
Of course. I was gonna say Marvel Rivals, but I know you don't play that. But they went through a bit of turmoil today. It recently came out. Another one of our pre-recording conversations. Angel texts us today, like, "What's going on with Marvel Rivals?" We're like, "Huh?" But yeah, I guess literally today, as of this recording, NetEase is pulling back from all their Western development investments, and all the U.S. team of Rivals, which is projected to make $1 billion, got let go.
So the game is done?
The game's gonna carry on, but
it's not the game's director.
It's like a weird.
I thought
it was the game's
director.
director.
There's been a lot of confusion about who exactly got laid off. It turns out it's about 7 developers, including a game director, but not the game director. That being said, still, you can't keep 7 people on payroll after making a butt ton of money. I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. It well, it's interesting because like apparently so Angel, see, this is why we don't record our conversations as they're always happening, because we didn't know the director thing at the time we first spoke. But no, Angel sent us a thread from Reset Era, or Reset Era, however you want to pronounce it, the forum, and I was reading through it, and there's someone that was at DICE Summit last week, and he was saying, yeah, the like buzz within the game industry is that all these big Chinese companies that have invested heavily in Western development studios are starting to pull back because they're realizing they don't need to manage by Western standards or whatever, or meet like international criteria for certain, like, you know, as people are trying to unionize and stuff, they could just keep to their Chinese ways, or their mostly Chinese ways, and they're all sort of pulling the ripcord. So a bunch of studios, including, you know, the Marvel Rivals team, this is probably the start of a pattern where a bunch of studios are going to be losing funding, losing people. You know, Tencent's involved in like a bajillion different companies at various levels. It's going to be interesting. It's like, it used to be, you know, we think about like offshore support teams, and it'd be the U.S. team would be the core and the offshore team would be somewhere else. Kind of flipped now. Like the U.S. folk, like those 7 people at NetEase, were the like offshore support team for the Chinese company that's now cutting them loose. So it's going to be weird year for gaming, I bet, as if layoffs weren't already a problem enough in the industry. But yeah, and you're still not feeling Rivals, right, Kevin?
No. I think I've played maybe, I don't know, an hour in the last 3 weeks. Yeah, just not feeling it.
The fact you're playing it all actually surprises me. I didn't think you were going to say that. I thought you like disowned it.
I'm basically not playing it. It's been 1 hour across these last 3 weeks. I'm basically not playing it.
That's fair. Yeah.
So it's, I guess, the other people in that group, because I know my brother wasn't super excited about playing it, but it just sounds like it's just like the game, I guess the other friends are playing, so he just plays with them, and I guess he enjoys it enough to keep playing it.
Yeah, like that's, I mean, he does the same with like Deadlock, where like he doesn't really want to like ranked deadlock is not something that he wants to do, but like he'll play with me and Matt, and the same thing with Rivals where Matt's playing it, and then our two other buddies also in Thomas. So yeah, he's gonna play it, but even though. I mean, I just don't like the game. So there has to be a part of him that actually enjoys playing the game, and I just don't enjoy playing it. So
could be the characters.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah.
If anything, maybe just like the characters enough, something that's enough. But sometimes it isn't, because like we've said, or like I've said before, Ninja Turtles wasn't enough to get me to stick with Nickelodeon All Stars or Injustice, which I feel says a lot considering I also enjoy fighting games, but. A lot of things have to work.
There is, to your point, Angel, I feel like there is an age, when you're a certain age as a kid, where the IP is enough on its own to sell you on a game. Like, I know we all probably have examples when we were kids, and there's a game we love that if you look back on it now, you're like, well, that wasn't, like, technically a good or sound game.
Yeah,
but there is that point where the gameplay outweighs the IP.
Yeah, like the Tasmanian game on the Super Nintendo, I think is one where if it wasn't for Taz, it would just be kind of a subpar, just like okay, I guess auto runner. It's basically an auto. Yeah, it is an auto runner because Taz auto runs. He's just running he's running away from the screen, and all you're doing is catching kiwis and trying not to get hit by cars, and that's it. That's like literally the whole game, but. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I definitely remember at one point, Ninja Turtles was printed on something. My brother and I would just buy it. Maybe in the last decade, standards changed, and we even we'll look at something that has turtles on it, and we're like, no, those are just the marketing turtles, which is what that's literally what they are. Certain merchandise, actually almost all merchandise, like say, backpacks, shoes, almost anything that's just like general apparel, use these specific Ninja Turtle designs that are very similar to the 90s one, but they're more brightly colored, they're way more rounded, they're like thicker outlined. They look corporately happy and are typically in like generic poses, like they're just like your squeaky clean turtles, which are fine for what they are. We don't hate them, but typically we don't buy stuff with those turtle designs. We'll try to get something with very specific turtle era designs that we really, really like. Because, there's like nothing to be attached, the projects attached to those turtles outside of the merchandise. Whereas the other one is like, oh, it's the turtles from the 2003 show. We love that one. We watched that all throughout high school. And I guess elementary school for him. Or middle school. I forget. What were we talking about?
I would say, by the way, that Pokemon's guilty.
Oh, standards, yes.
But when they have like certain renders or certain like key art of Pikachu or various Pokemon, and they never actually use that exact key art for any game or any show episode, right? It's just like a very specific. Mario's guilty of this too, but like very specific poses, very specific renders, very specific stylings of those that only exist for merch or for
and like Nintendo has gotten better, like
olive branches to other companies. Yeah,
like I do love that Nintendo for a lot of their core Mario merch is starting to use more of that like more cartoony, like instructional booklet art style like that, especially in Japan in the Nintendo stores. Like there's just so much. I think a lot of it is actually on the Nintendo.com website that you could get here in the US.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty awesome. But no, yeah,
I
totally get you.
I'm gonna make I don't know if this is a hot take. I actually have no idea. I think the new redesign of the Mario cast for Mario Kart on Switch 2 is the actual proper like 3D-ification of that cartoony art you're describing that they're bringing back in 2D as well. Like if you look at the proportions, excluding Donkey Kong, who obviously was a throwback to his old design.
I think so. It's hard for me to judge off of like throwback. 10 seconds of blurry footage.
I don't know, just something about Mario. Mario's face is a little rounder. He's a little squatter. He just kind of reminds me of the 2D art. I don't know if that's me connecting dots that don't exist. I don't know if it'll become more apparent. I don't know if that's the direction they're going in general, but like there's something shifting right now in how they represent the character. I mean, Mario Wonder does it too a little, actually. There is a bit of a like shift. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's because like we're past the era of like Nintendo being considered kiddie, quote unquote, So like they don't mind not having the characters look like cool and let them be a little more cartoony. But there's something happening in the Mario world. I feel like a little. Yeah, I don't know how we got here to answer your question. But Kevin, I'm curious, Kevin, we know Ninja Turtles and Transformers for Angel. We know Nintendo and Pokemon for me. What was your, I don't think we've ever actually talked about, what was your like franchise when you were a kid or like in high school, or like what was the big IP
was it
that
Scarlett
you were all
Johansson?
about?
I don't necessarily know if I had one.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, not everyone does.
Like,
Which
I'm
is
trying
probably
to
healthy
think,
not to.
but I can't really think of one.
Hmm.
I mean, like high school and middle school, it was like a lot of anime, so but it wasn't necessarily like just one single anime or anything like that.
Right. Well, that's better in a
Trying
way.
to
You probably
think,
saved
but
a
I
lot of
can't
money
really
because you
think
didn't like
of
obsess
anything.
over merch of a specific thing.
Yeah, no, I didn't have that.
Interesting. I mean, again, it probably saved you money in the long run. So, yeah. Yeah. I guess should we hop to the list of topics? I don't, unless there's any other
Let's.
pleasantries anyone wants to get out of the way. Um, you know what? Since Angel and I are going back and forth so much on stuff, let's kick it your way, Kevin. I see The Gorge on here. The movie The Gorge, which I think you like just watched, right?
Yeah, I watched it yesterday, just like on a whim. So The Gorge is an Apple TV Plus movie. Stars Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy in it.
AKA Princess Peach.
Princess Peach and Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards. Anyways, so 1 second. I can talk to him later. So Anya Taylor-Joy and Miles Teller, they play snipers like on the opposite side of the titular gorge, where they're stationed at these like tall towers, and right from the get go, there's like there's a mystery about what exactly is inside the gorge, because you hear like these weird animalistic noises. So they're contracted by like this shady company, and their job is to pretty much make sure that the creatures that are inside the gorge do not leave the gorge. And so, using like their sniper skills, they also have like bombs that sort of line the gorge, as well as like these automated turrets. Pretty much anything to keep the monsters inside. That is their job for an entire year. And like right from the get go, they're told not to communicate to each other. Like they don't have any line of communication. They can see each other through like their scopes and their binoculars, but that's pretty much it. It's not like they have a cell that they can call the other one with. Almost immediately they break that protocol, and then the movie devolves into like this weird mishmash of genres. It's like a romantic drama / science fiction action / horror movie. And like the only part that actually works modestly is the romance between Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy. I think they have pretty good chemistry. And early on, there's actually a scene that I really liked where they celebrate her birthday from opposite sides of the gorge that I think works really, really well. And it goes on for quite a good amount of time too. But that scene immediately, or not immediately, like towards the end of that scene, it just devolves into action. And the action in this movie is really boring and incredibly generic. The horror elements are incredibly mediocre, which kind of sucks because the only reason I decided to watch this movie was because it was directed by Scott Derrickson. Scott Derrickson directed Sinister and The Black Phone, which are like two recent-ish horror movies that I really like. And he was also the director of Doctor Strange, the first one.
That's where I know him from.
Yeah.
I was like, that name's so familiar. Yeah.
Okay. So I knew that there was like some pedigree behind, his action skills and his horror skills, but it just didn't quite land for me here. And he didn't write this movie the same way that he wrote those other two. I mean, he didn't write Doctor Strange either, but Doctor Strange is probably one of the better looking Marvel movies out there. So yeah, so that was like that was a huge bummer.
Others, yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of it's just a kind of generic movie. And on top of that, the death knell of movies nowadays, this movie is 2 hours long. It has no right being 2 hours long. You could shave a good 30 minutes off of this movie, and it would go from, I don't know, like a 6 out of 10 to a 7, or maybe, no, actually that's being too generous. It'd go from like a 5 out of 10 to like a 6 or a 7. But as it stands right now, this movie for me is a 5 out of 10. And I'm not necessarily disappointed in the movie. Just like, man, that was 2 hours that I did not need to waste. So, yeah, The Gorge.
It's interesting to me that Apple TV keeps putting out these. Like, I feel like Apple TV is finding quite a groove with TV shows. You know, they have Severance, they have Ted Lasso, they have, to some extent, Shrinking. Like, there's a lot of critically acclaimed shows. But there's not, I feel like the movies aren't, like, Killers of the Flower Moon maybe won a bunch of stuff, and I haven't seen it, but it's supposed to be really good. But I feel like the general consensus about their movies is they're just kind of like, yeah, they're there. While the shows are, like, really, you know, Silo and all these other things are really, like, picking up the slack. It's such a weird divide.
Yeah, I'm like looking at what they've released so far, and nothing really stands out.
Yeah, like on the movie front, right? Like there's just not a whole,
And then like the worst part is like this movie has that sheen that I hate these streaming movies.
Oh, they all do it.
All these streaming services, whenever they release a movie, they just have this sheen of something that I can't put my finger on, but it's like, oh yeah, this movie was not released in theaters, like, at all.
I think it's spilling over to theater movies as well. There is this. I noticed it with Captain America a little when I saw it yesterday, Brave New World. But there's like this thing where movies can't be lit in a non-super intense, like HDR ready, overexposed way. I don't know how better to describe it, but everything's like a little too, like, sheen's maybe the right word, yeah, but if you watch a movie from like 10, 15, 20 years ago, the lighting just feels, there's way more like, I don't know, I don't want to say contrast, but it doesn't feel as, something about, I don't know, it just feels, it's like if you look at like photos taken with a film camera and then photos taken on the newest iPhone or Android where the HDR is cranked up. Like that's kind of what it feels like with movies now.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I have no idea. And yeah, I still haven't seen Killers of the Flower Moon either, but that's Scorsese. I'm sure that doesn't have that awful sheen to it.
Oh, yeah, there's exceptions to every rule, but generally, to your point, like I noticed it with Carry On when I was watching Carry On, which I think I talked about here a few weeks ago.
I don't think you did. I talked about it, and I don't think that you had seen it.
Well, I saw it after you saw it then, but yeah.
That movie has that sheen all over it.
Like all over it. It's kind of I mean, you're right, you talked about it, and then I watched it after. What a silly but kind of fun movie. It's such a throwback to like early 90s action movies in vibe, but not in look, because again, it has that sheen, yeah. It's an I at some point the pendulum's gonna swing the other way and the trend's gonna go somewhere else in terms of like visual style, kind of like how all the games in like 2006 all looked like muddy and brown. You know, all the mature video games had a look, so it will swing another way eventually. But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the current look of things. It actually makes green screen look more obvious, weirdly enough, which is so counterintuitive because their technology's gotten so far advanced in rendering stuff and CG and whatnot, and yet somehow our movies look more fake than they did before. It's really bizarre.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
But that's The Gorge, right?
That is The Gorge.
Well,
Anya Taylor-Joy, certified cutie in this movie. She's got this short, like, bob that's, Jesus Christ. My new favorite look of hers, overtaking her look in The Menu.
I forgot she was in The Menu for a minute, yeah. I really like The Menu.
Wait, what?
That's my contribution. I was just saying I really like The Menu.
Oh, I love The Menu. I watched it last week with my parents. My mom really enjoyed it.
I haven't seen it since the first time I saw it, but I have had The Menu burger at Irv's Burgers in West Hollywood on like 3 or 4 occasions in the time since the movie came out. They made it a permanent item on their menu.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's quite good. Not going to spoil the movie, but it makes sense why that burger had the role it had, because it's quite good. But anyway, it looks like I actually have a few more topics than you guys, so just to break it up a bit, maybe I'll talk about something and then we'll throw it to Angel for what you've been watching and we'll throw it back to me or something. But I did want to talk about, we mentioned some like late breaking news with Marvel Rivals at the top of the episode. There's also some it's good we're recording a day later than usual because of the long weekend, but there's also some late breaking news last night. Nintendo's getting rid of the gold point system.
What?
I don't know if you guys have leveraged this very much. Do you not know about this, Angel?
No.
Is this actually news that I'm breaking to you in real time?
This is where I get my news from.
Oh, well, breaking
tell.
news, Nintendo's getting rid of the gold point system. So yeah, last night, Nintendo
Dude,
announced...
I need to spend these $5.
What?
I need to spend these $5 or whatever 500.
Oh, well, here's the thing. Okay, so let me explain what they're actually doing. So they're doing away with gold points as part of the My Nintendo program. So how it's going to work is any points you have stored will remain for 12 months as always. And then they'll self-expire over time depending on when you got them. But starting on March 24th, you won't be able to accrue any new gold points. And, as members of My Nintendo know, these gold points, you earn them with every physical or digital purchase, and then you can apply them to discounts on future digital purchases. So that loop, that cycle is going to end. Starting essentially March 24th is like the countdown clock for any points you have. And then, it fades into the sunset. Platinum points, the ones you get the merch through My Nintendo from, like the keychains and the calendars, those are going to remain. Those will stay as is, which is nice because I'm a sucker for the annual calendar they put out. And they actually did 2 calendars this year for 2025. They had the regular My Nintendo and Nintendo Switch Online calendar. Both are wonderful. It was a very hard decision which one to display where, but I figured it out. Rest easy. But yeah, I think for a lot of folks, like the gold points are the real story of My Nintendo. And yeah, they were great. I mean, as you're saying, you had a few bucks, but everyone has a couple bucks laying around of these gold points, and they made impulse buying, smaller indie titles that much more impulsive. I feel like they opened up some gaming opportunities that, you maybe wouldn't otherwise have had. A buck here, a buck there is enough to sway you. I mean, I know for me, there's a game I'm going to talk about later in this episode, a little to the left, that I only finally bought years after it came out because of a double whammy of having some gold points laying around and Nintendo dropping its price in the supercharge sale they did a couple weeks ago. So it is a bummer the system's dying, this reward system. But the reason I really bring it up is I'd also like to use this gold point goodbye, if you will, as a framing device for something else I want to talk about. I am Trojan horsing this, Nintendo's latest financial report. Because you see, I think there are some takeaways in that report that help to perhaps explain why we're now losing gold points after they've been around for so long. And also because, frankly, the financials came out right when we were posting our last episode, and I want to talk about them, but I have no other way to talk about them without just randomly bringing them up. But the numbers are old. It's 2 weeks ago. So how do I make it relevant? But also gold points. It's because of gold points. So yeah, that's the reason. So the question becomes how does this relate to gold points? And I kind of want to rewind the clock, actually. So let's go back to the launch of the Switch real quick.
Oh, for a second, but you're going to go. Let's start to the inception of Nintendo.
So in 1889, an idea, someone was like, let's make playing cards. And then, let's just go back to April 2018. That's the first year of the Switch being out. I went back and dug up the financial report from that year because I'm a weirdo. And specifically, I dug into digital game sales numbers. At the time, Nintendo was proudly boasting that their digital sales totaled 60 billion yen that year, which represented somewhere between 15 and 17% of all software sales. So that's not bad at all. And for Nintendo, any digital sale, of course, represents saving on physical packaging, shipping to stores, all that good stuff. It's more money in Nintendo's pocket. It's people more actively engaging with their Nintendo accounts. And with some carrots at the ends of some sticks, it can mean getting people to dive deeper into Nintendo's whole ecosystem. So one such carrot can be in the conveniences of digital games. You don't need the cartridge. It's just there on your system. Another can be games that are only available digitally, like so many of Switch's games now are. I looked it up. There are 12,000 titles available on Switch. That does include DLC, I think. But still, there's a ton of digital stuff. But of course, a third way to continue to up your digital adoption and keep people in that digital space is a reward program, such as the gold points they're now sunsetting. And of course, for us as the gamers, the gold points have their little benefits too. It helps us find smaller titles, like I was saying, that we wouldn't otherwise consider. And it brings us more games in the long run, because if we're buying more smaller titles, that encourages those developers to maybe make more smaller titles in the Switch ecosystem and, rinse and repeat. And that's how you get to 12,000 titles available. And all these aspects, like both on the Nintendo side and the gamer side, they have combined in such a way over the Switch's life that in the most recent financial report, which just came out and covers the first 9 months of the fiscal year. So for Nintendo, that means April 2024 through the end of 2024. In that report, digital sales now represent 51% of all Switch software. So in the lifespan of the Switch, in those years, through various initiatives, digital went from barely a fifth of software sales to over half of software sales, from 60 billion that I mentioned before to now 152.5 billion yen, an increase of 154%. And part of that was this gold point system. And it wasn't the maker or breaker of that growth by any means. They played a smaller role, no doubt about that. But again, every little thing helps. If Nintendo wanted to create a habit of people visiting the eShop for their games and not going to a physical store, if they wanted to help bulk up people's libraries to, let's say, make the transition from the current Switch to a future Switch successor, feel as seamless as an iPhone upgrade. Yeah, all the gold points were one of the many levers they pulled to make it happen. And now that they've established the ecosystem, and now that we're seeing they have that 154% growth, they can perhaps afford to unpull the levers that required sacrificing some revenue. I mean, a little revenue, but some revenue. There's a fun fact, actually, from this financial report. Switch hardware has now surpassed 150 million units sold in its lifetime. That's only a few million away from the DS to become the best-selling Nintendo system ever, and less than 10 million away from the PS2 to become the best-selling system of all time for any console maker, period. They'd actually be closer to PS2 if Jim Ryan didn't out of nowhere find like extra PS2 receipts in a couch cushion or something. Did you guys hear that story? Like, I think it was like a year ago when Switch started creeping up and Jim Ryan's saying like, oh, we actually sold 160 million, not 158 or something. And everyone's like, oh, okay.
Jim Ryan
So
can bite me, dude.
I know you have some qualms with Jim Ryan.
I don't have qualms with Jim Ryan. I hate Jim Ryan.
Let me pause on the sales for a second. Elaborate.
Jim Ryan
Why do you
sucks.
hate?
Jim Ryan's the reason that PlayStation went this live service route. Jim Ryan forced Shuhei Yoshida to take a position that he didn't want or leave the company. Yeah, Jim Ryan can get fucked as far as I'm concerned. I'm glad he's away from PlayStation.
And he like maybe made up sales numbers. Maybe. But anyway, yeah, so Nintendo's coming up on a lot of milestones for Switch.
Wait, while you're paused, well, I know you already went back on, but all this talk of Nintendo coins had me browsing my Nintendo rewards. I realized the golden coins don't redeem any of the rewards, but, I'm looking at them anyway.
No, but they redeem all the discounts on the eShop.
Yeah, which is always great. Like, yeah. I mean, that's going to be
They're the cashback system.
Yeah, but
yes, I initially had the same panic that they were the platinum coins.
Well, I mean, I barely said platinum coins because the funny thing is that some things look like, oh, I'm down to get that, but then when I go through the cart and then it comes to like, all right, $5 shipping, I'm like, I don't know, this is worth $5. Like, it's not even worth the shipping to me.
I've fallen into that same thing. Yeah, I tend to just get the calendars.
Like it has to be something more substantial. Yeah, the calendars are really cool, but
I love the calendars.
I guess because I actively use a bunch of other calendars, I just haven't pulled the trigger on them yet. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because, yeah, just couldn't help but notice, and I'm sure you have, because this is totally something we have called out Nintendo for, especially you. I did get that Mario Strikers cinch bag. Anyway, maybe we got it through Anime at Comic-Con. Anyway, the Mario Party Jamboree coaster set. So that thing comes with 8 coasters, but from what I can tell, only 3 of them are actual new renders from Mario Party Jamboree. The rest of them are just generic stock images like Toad.
Like I said.
Yeah, like this Yoshi one's ancient. Like, what the heck?
I literally called this out at the top of the episode, not knowing you'd bring it up, 20 minutes later. But yeah. No, they have art that's like for merch, and they have art that's like game specific, and yeah.
Yeah.
But what's weird is when they do art for merch that's game specific. So like this is game specific merch, but they're still using the merch art instead.
It's funny because I feel like some of those probably were from a Mario Party a long time ago. But
they're from Mario Party 4 or 5.
But having the Mario and Luigi next to each other, like you could see the difference in like the detail and the overall. That's like, clearly one was made in the 2020s and the other one.
The hair is another tell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look closely at the hair. The newer renders have it less like a chunk and more like hair, and the older ones it looks more like they're just like put on like a Playmobil character with a headpiece attached
Yeah.
type of thing.
The ornaments
Like
are
a little
probably
hat
the
of
next
hair.
closest
Yeah.
thing, but I think only. Actually, no, I haven't pulled the trigger on one yet. There is a nice one with Bowser on it, but too many other characters for my liking.
And if you want to get even more in the weeds about the merch and renders, look at how Super Nintendo World uses one set of renders that are no longer relevant. And the whole theme park is modeled after Super Mario 3D World, which is an art style they've already moved away from, in a way,
That being said, though,
with the games.
like the art they're using for their like paid merchandise with real money is really cool. Like I'm really digging. The viewers, listeners, humans can't see this, but I just sent you a picture of a Bowser shirt that I'm eyeing. Because
They also
I love that
have
pose.
done
Like
new
that's a pose you
2D.
don't see Bowser.
Is that a
do
crop
ever.
top? What are we doing here?
No, that's just the top half of the shirt. Like,
Oh, okay.
It just got cut off.
Angel, do us a favor.
I mean, I guess
put in the show notes the timestamp for this shirt, and I will link to it in the blog post for this episode at ramtown.com so other people can see the not crop top Bowser shirt.
Sure.
But it's a cool shirt, actually.
Yeah, I
it's
just love seeing Bowser
2D art,
not doing his standard claws out pose, which they just always seem to do. Like they don't know how to pose them. And
Donkey Kong also has custom 2D drawn art that they've been using of him and Diddy at shirts you can get at Target. Like art that was made for merch. That's actually new art.
Yeah,
you and I saw it at Target actually.
Yeah,
we were like, look at that.
A lot of the stuff they have here is using like this kind of like more toony art style, and I mean they're calling this like pop
going
art.
back to the early '90s look. Yeah, like I was saying before.
Like they have a cool like a neat like DK barrel sling backpack that's just the barrel with a DK on it.
They also have a DK onesie you can get that has his little like curl at the top on the hood and like his tie baked into the zipper.
Oh yeah. But the Bowser Raglan shirt,
if you really want to...
I don't know about this one. I don't know. This feels... I don't know what it is about this shirt. Yeah, now I'm just like sharing shirts and not showing them on the podcast.
You're sharing shirts on an audio-only format. Really, really...
We'll evolve one of these days. But yeah, like that one, I don't know how to feel about it. Like I don't know.
Is it a team? So for those at home, it's a ringer, like a baseball ringer, and in the front where the number would be, it just shows Bowser's head, and then the back it just says Bowser in a Mario font.
I think it makes me feel uneasy.
It's like Ninja Turtle, yellow and green.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because the arms are green, like they're the arms, and the yellow's like the yellow belly. So it's like I'm cosplaying as like a no detailed Ninja Turtle with just Bowser's face on the front and Bowser's name on the back.
One part we didn't throw out there on the sleeve down by the wrist is a little Bowser emblem, the black and red, like like you see in Smash or Mario Kart in particular. That's just randomly on the sleeve.
That being said, there is a lot of neat apparel. So if you're looking for some apparel, I'm sure you'll find something.
If you're looking for some apparel that you can't use platinum or discontinued gold points on.
Yeah, this costs normal.
Store.nintendo.com is your best friend.
Unsurprisingly, a lot of the good stuff is actually sold out, but we already have some of that. Like the Metroid, oh my god, Cayenne, Cayenn pullover hoodie, the Metroid one, the orange one we both have. I don't know how to pronounce that. What is that orange?
That one is cool. I don't know Cayenne. Yeah, it's orange. Cayenne's a blue.
Well, that's what they're calling it. Maybe I'm not pronouncing it right.
Oh.
But yeah.
Cayenne's also usually spelled Cyan, so maybe I'm thinking of the wrong word.
Any diddle.
Yeah, no, they do have cool merch, and it's really nice that they finally came to their senses and didn't limit their merch to the Nintendo store in New York, so people around
or even Japan. A lot of the stuff is the stuff you can get over there. So
they're starting to, as part of their whole IP push, and they're an IP first company now. They're making their merch more readily available because that's where it's at. That's where the IP is.
You could literally get the Roost coffee grinder and the cup ceramics that used to only be over there, which is pretty cool. Just no pour over mug.
It's super cool they're doing it. Yet.
Well, that's been sold out forever.
Yet.
But, I mean, I got a Ghibli one.
Oh, then it might be gone for good. But anyway, to walk us back, unpause.
What were we talking about?
Jason Sales Corner back in action. Let me recap real fast, super shorthand. So let's talk about how gold
let's
points...
start back at the beginning. So I was born in 1989.
All right, let me rewind. So Nintendo was formed in 1889, exactly 100 years before Jason was born. Now, I'm Jason. Let's real quick recap. I was basically saying gold points were one of many levers that Nintendo could pull to help grow their digital footprint and grow their digital ecosystem. And that's probably why the reward program existed. And I was starting to say that what's interesting is the Switch has now surpassed 150 million. It's on track to be the best-selling system of all time when it passes PS2. But a more interesting fact that ties into this whole digital ecosystem thing and what I'm trying to get at with gold points is of those Switches sold, there are a whopping 129 million active players. 129 million people around the world have played their Switch at least once in the year 2024, in the fiscal year of 2020. So the current fiscal year, last 9 months. And it's true that software sales are down year over year because there's nothing on the scale of a Tears of the Kingdom or a Mario Wonder or anything like that. But still, in that 9-month window, those 129 million active players, 124 million pieces of software were bought. And we know, courtesy of the digital sales number I shared before we went on our tangent, half of those were digital. So if I were Nintendo and I was looking at the bottom line, at my bottom line of profits at the moment, which to be fair is down from a year ago to the tune of about 22% decline in operating profits, 10% decline in net profits. If I was looking at all that, looking at how much my R&D cost rose because of Switch 2's development, looking at how Switch hardware sales are slowing faster than I anticipated to the point where I have to lower my forecast, which Nintendo did this. They lowered their forecast for the rest of the fiscal year by 1.5 million units. They already dropped it a quarter ago by 1 million units. They're coming in 2.5 million units lower for this fiscal year than they thought they would. And I'm looking at all that, and I look at how successfully I've converted essentially a full half of my massive Switch audience into a digital-first mindset, giving me more money directly. Yeah, maybe I don't need to dole out little gold point discounts on my Switch sales. There's no need for that carrot at the end of that stick. The digital habit's established. I mean, if I'm going to lose my money in the name of incentivizing, I'm going to pivot. I would rather pivot to a bigger money-making opportunity that isn't so self-fulfilling at this point as digital sales in general are. So, like, I would look at Switch Online subscriptions. I would sunset gold points and do something with Switch Online because they mentioned in their financial briefing that Switch Online memberships are still in the 30-ish million range in terms of active subscriptions. That's pretty flat compared to the last numbers they shared. And they straight up said, yeah, it's due to the churn. Like, as people don't have games they want to play online at a given moment, they let the memberships lapse. So, as I was just saying, there's 129 million Switch players out there. Huge untapped audience when only last they reported, 34 million people subscribe to Switch Online. So that's a quarter of the total people playing Switch. And as we've kind of talked about before here on the show, actually recently, not long ago, Nintendo's trying to beef up the subscription to get people to stick around and not just be part of that churn where it just stays flat. We got stuff like first access to exclusive items with Alarmo. We got the introduction of Nintendo Music, the app, which is something with more like permanence and regular updates. And by that same token, the uptick in additional classic games available on Switch through the Switch Online service, like that's been on the rise.
There was an uptick?
Just in the last couple of weeks. What?
There was an uptick?
Yeah. They started doing them more frequently. In just the last 10 days, or 14 days, we got Ridge Racer and Wario Land 4. They used to do one a month. Now we're getting them double speed. It started last fall, really.
Wow.
And obviously, adding N64.
Damn.
But still, they're doing just enough that you're going to, hey, I'll keep people subscribed a little.
Man. They're going to run out of games.
You know what? You should take that angst and go to Nintendo and be like, why don't you release soundtracks for games in tandem with the game releasing? That's such a missed opportunity. I thought they were going to do that. I remember predicting we'll see if they do it with Brothership, and they didn't. Yeah. But what a dumb... It's fine. Why would you not be here's the game and here's the music for the game?
I mean, if I did, this drip feed is so slow, I would have died from dehydration a longest time ago. But
but they're doing all these little nips and tucks to try and get people more into it while still being Nintendo, I guess. But the one element they haven't done yet that they can use Switch 2 as a reset for is making Switch Online the way that you get discounts and offers on digital purchases. Move that carrot to a new, more revenue-generating stick. So I imagine, and I haven't said this, I imagine that's what's happening here. And certainly there will still be new people coming in the door to the Switch 1 ecosystem, even if they, focus on Switch 2 and take away gold points on Switch 1. The Switch, unbelievably, has still not had a proper price drop its entire life. There's a whole world of budget-conscious buyers who will give the system some further legs, albeit smaller ones. And surely Nintendo will put out some, budget releases for them too. I was sharing on social media the other week that some stats I dug up. The DS got first-party games for 19 months after the 3DS launch. The 3DS got first-party games for 2 years after the Switch launch. Like, the Switch one's not going anywhere, but those folks don't need gold points to motivate them to go digital when they've got those like 12,000 existing titles in the eShop library at their fingertips. Like, that's the carrot for Switch 1. Switch 2, they can use subscription. Like Mario Kart 8. Here's a good example. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still one of the best-selling Switch games, quarter after quarter after quarter. And that becomes a carrot in and of itself to start doing digital, because if you want the booster course tracks, they're only on the eShop in, like, randomly the Hong Kong version of the Mario Kart 8 cartridge. Like, it's not easily accessible physically. You got to go digital. Speaking of which, quick aside, I thought it was kind of interesting. Mario Kart was literally Nintendo's second best-selling first-party game this past holiday season. 5.38 million more copies on top of the 60 million they already sold. It outsold Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which sold about 3 million more copies. It outsold Switch Sports, which somehow had a resurgence. It sold 2.5 million. It outsold Mario and Luigi Brothership, which debuted in that period, to 1.8 million. The only game it didn't outsell was Mario Party Jamboree, 6.17 million copies. That actually makes it the fastest selling Mario Party game to date. So there's some momentum there too. But anyway, as I was saying, sorry, numbers aside, this library I'm describing becomes the carrot for Switch 1 from here on out. Likewise, all the folks getting Switch 2s, they don't need gold points. The habit for digital was formed on Switch 1. The giant library of backwards compatible games that's going to be on Switch 2 in the eShop is as much a carrot for them as it is for the budget-conscious crowd. I guess what I'm trying to say, I'm taking a very long way to say it, is Nintendo maybe being a little cheap by taking away some simple discounts, maybe being a little arrogant by assuming we don't want them or will not complain. And they're kind of hedging that from their business perspective, the rewards are moot. Like, they think people will still buy the games, is fine. And of course, there's an argument to be made that they still, should treat their fans well with incentives here or there. Or the digital voucher program on Switch. That's another thing they confirmed is only on Switch 1. It won't be on Switch 2. They confirmed that last night as well. But like I was saying, I think we're seeing it shift. Like, there will be similar ideas, I'm sure, returning under Switch Online. The incentive is now to get you to maintain a subscription. Keep paying for a subscription. Give Nintendo a more constant revenue stream with the subscription. And there's tons of room to grow in that adoption rate. They already went from a fifth to a half of an audience to going digital. If they can get a fourth to a half to 2/3 going subscription, that's a huge boon for them. So gold points being announced right now, being shut down next month, I feel like that's just sunsetting the old program. So people have time to swallow that pill without it tarnishing whatever conversation around the new Switch Online perks could be coming when the dust settles. Maybe in the immediate wake of the Switch 2 Direct, we'll start to learn stuff. But this whole thing, like them just like cold turkey ending the program, to me feels like a mini version of when they announced the Wii name. Do you guys remember, like, a month before E3 2006, they're just like, this revolution will be called the Wii. And everyone's like, what? That makes no sense. That sounds like a weird name. Why would you do that? And then a month later, they were able to just show the Wii at E3, and everyone talked about the games and the controls and all that. So this is probably a similar thing where they're not going to taint whatever they're going to do with Switch Online by getting all the complaining about sunsetting the other perks and rewards now instead of then. So we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see if I'm totally off the mark here or perhaps onto something. Either way, I enjoy speculating. I particularly enjoy sneaking a Jason Sales Corner into an episode. And I appreciate everyone's patience as I went through that with our nice little detour into merch. So that's the gold point story and then some. There's your news, Angel. And analysis. You got like a whole hour-long like news broadcast type of thing out of this.
And how.
You're welcome. And how. Yeah, so that's my big Nintendo news slice. But to shake things up, I don't know if did you guys use gold points very much in all honesty? I know I used them a fair amount, like I was saying. But was that something that you actually leveraged, or was it just kind of there and you didn't think about?
I mean, they were just kind of there, and we're just kind of like a nice, like, oh, I guess I have a couple bucks here. I think I've once gotten like, I think the most I've ever stockpiled without realizing was like maybe like 14 or 15 bucks.
That's a decent amount. You get a whole game.
Yeah, because I basically didn't like look at them for all, which is always awesome because, it usually is the, I guess, the straw that breaks the camel back for buying games that I'm more on the fence on, or that I normally wouldn't really consider, because it's like, oh, it's free, or I have less to lose now. And I mean, that's kind of why I
Right.
got the Victorian slap off game.
Which ended up being quite fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So like,
Exactly.
hopefully whatever the new Switch Online perks are and how they discount games will be comparable. So it still motivates weird purchases like that. Because that was a good, completely out of left field type of thing to get. As was a little to the left in a way, which I'll talk about in a bit. But I've talked a lot. I'm going to take a breather. Angel, I'm going to throw it to you for a minute.
You just talked too. What the heck?
What?
I just said I just talked too. What the heck? But anyway, yeah.
Okay. Well, the problem is you're the only other one with a specific thing you watched or did. We have one Kevin topic that's more of a general discussion. So I'm going to throw it to you anyway, Angel. You've been watching and wanted to talk about a K-drama, A Crash Course in Romance.
Yeah, definitely not my typical
I know, I was surprised.
thing that I watch. I'm not really opposed to watching anything in particular unless it's recommended by Jason. If it's recommended by Kevin, then yeah, I'll check it out. It gets weird when
Nice.
they both recommend it, because then I'm just confused. Like when they both recommended The Bear, and I was just like, I don't know what to do.
So have you watched The Bear?
No.
Oh no, so my
it's
recommendation
on-
won
There
out,
is a bear
unfortunately.
in the first episode if that changes your mind.
That actually does.
There's an actual bear in it in the first episode.
I am way more
This is
inclined to watch it now.
There you go.
I mean, it's on Hulu though. I don't know if I have access to that.
It's also on Disney Plus.
Oh,
All of Hulu's now inside Disney Plus,
I
which is super weird when you open the Disney app and it's like all these TVMA shows just stacked across the top. But yeah.
just damn it. Damn. All right. Well, I have been watching A Crash Course in Romance. It was recommended by a coworker. They thought I would enjoy it. And so I gave it a shot as well. Like, I love to take recommendations from people when they take my
When they're not
interest into consideration versus like, oh, this is just like a great show. Like, you should just watch it just because this show is really great. And this one was more recommended because they felt the type of show that it was, or at least like the vibes and the plot would gel more particularly with me, and it did. I really
Sorry, not to interrupt, but were you just like doing the verbal equivalent of subtweeting me? Is that what just happened there with that, with that description?
No, but if you interpreted it that way, then maybe I guess it applied to you, but I doubt it. I mean, because you watch a lot of like
Okay.
big things that are, really well known and popular. Like, of course, like why would you not recommend Severance or any of those other shows? I mean, but I guess to be fair, it's not like it's not like you told me to watch. I wouldn't say you do this because it's not like you told me to watch like, oh, you should check out Game of Thrones, and if you did, then yeah, this definitely applies to you. But if you didn't tell me to check out Game
I've
of
never
Thrones,
told you to do that. Yeah.
yeah, or
I know your limits.
maybe Succession. I don't know if you've ever recommended that.
I mean, I love Succession, but I don't think I've ever told you to watch it because I don't think you'd like it. Yeah.
House of Cards.
I think.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I told you House of Cards either.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Okay, good. So I'm not saying the world revolves around me, but the pairing of you don't listen
Oh
to
my
my recommendations and then like people recommend things without considering me. I'm like, oh.
Without consent. Yeah.
Anyway, back to
Okay.
you. I'll be quiet now. Thanks for confirming. Bye.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah. So, despite the name of the show being called, A Crash Course in Romance, there is, I guess, a romance that develops during the show. Of course, big surprise, but I wouldn't say it's the core of the show. Like a lot of it kind of plays off like a comedy, tale of what's the word I'm looking for? Cautionary tale of what happens when moms go too far, and cause essentially it's just about like the world of like academia for high school for kids, where you have these parents that are just really really tough on their kids. Like they want them to be studying 24/7. Kids can become stressed
Oh yeah,
out.
the tiger mom,
Helicopter or tiger moms and
yeah.
helicopter parents.
Exactly, yeah. And it pretty much takes it to the natural extent where like doesn't necessarily spoil much, but like you do get like there are some murders involved. There are like some suicides from being too stressed out to study. So it's not like just like a happy-go-lucky show. It can be sometimes, but it surprisingly does a good job of balancing like the quirky humor with like, oh man, like, this kid killed themselves because they just couldn't take it, and or just how ruthless like these moms can be just because their kid is mad that this other kid got in their class, so they use their connections to like, work their way to get the kid out of that class or something like that. To of course like exaggerated degrees, because it's almost like watching like a political drama, but it's about you know moms trying to control the I guess it's I guess yeah, the politics of the school, and just like where their children can get, no, regardless of what their children actually want. But yeah, it can be slow paced at times, which I kind of enjoy. Like I enjoy like I guess yeah, I haven't really. I don't think I've actually watched an entire Korean show from beginning to end before this one. I think I caught a couple episodes of a show called Boys Over Flowers over a decade ago, maybe 15 years
What
ago.
about Squid Game?
I never watched Squid Game.
Oh, for some reason I thought you did.
No. Yeah, it's kind of it's that one was so hard to avoid. It felt
Too
like I
too
watched it.
mainstream for the Slatos.
Yeah, this is true. This is
Honestly,
true.
it just felt like I've seen it. Like I was just never in the mood to watch it. Like it just never felt like I want to check out Squid Game. It just felt, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing out. Maybe not. But maybe one day I'll watch it.
Your Squid Gaming stops at Splatoon. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Angel.
What's up?
Now, how long have you had Crunchyroll?
Oh man. I think it says on my Crunchyroll website. But
I ask because am I crazy, or did Crunchyroll at one point host a lot of Korean live action stuff?
they did. They had a whole
Right?
live action section. Yeah, they did.
So I wasn't going insane. Okay, yeah, because like now I'm pretty sure it's just anime. I'm pretty sure they have nothing live action now.
Yeah, if I go to their categories, I see. Oh no, yeah, this is still anime related. Oh, these are just music videos. Yep. I think they got rid of the other stuff. If I
The
go to
K-drama stuff, right? Yeah.
yeah, they used to
I
have.
wonder if that's because K dramas became super everything K-pop, K dramas, K. It all became super mainstream.
Yeah, I
in the
definitely
last
remember
few
like
years. I
browsing
wonder
through
if
it just because
that's-
I was like, oh, I think I stumbled upon it as well. I was like, oh, like live action shows here or like dramas. It was back when like Crunchyroll was white instead of this like black and gray. But
It's a good thing that you said and gray, because that was going to
really
be
glad
very problematic.
I'm really glad you clarified that. Yeah, especially the way you paused after just Crunchyroll was right. It was white. It said nothing else.
well, it was in light mode before by default. I don't know if someone's like, I guess like browser settings can always make a website dark mode regardless of what the website.
If the website plays nice with the browser, yes, actually, you can now have it default to the
Well,
browser.
Crunchyroll, yeah, I guess like now by default goes for like a dark theme of sorts, and yeah, it's interesting. Although, if you go to your billing history, for some reason that isn't hosted on the normal Crunchyroll website, that still like pushes you to like an archive version of like what their old site kind of used to look like, where that one is still in light mode. It's kind of jarring, but yeah.
The reason is because there's not enough. I would guarantee you, as someone that works in this, not in the Crunchyroll world, but in the world of websites, and like, I guarantee you, the number of people that go to that page, and the number of times that the amount of effort they want to put into that page is not worth updating it, and that's why it is still light mode. It is still old because you're only going in there once in a blue moon. And you're probably going in there to cancel, and they don't want to give you a prettier way to cancel.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've had Crunchyroll since like 2009 or 10, maybe 8.
Okay.
Sure, will make sense. Yeah, it's definitely been a while, and I'm still grandfathered into that original price. It's like
Nice.
not too bad. Yeah.
That's crazy. Usually they eventually.
Yeah, I saw what it
grandfathering.
costs now. It's like in the 80s or something. I don't know.
Per year, you mean, right?
Yeah, per year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking for something different, something light, I mean, it's funny. The characters are endearing. Like, I watched it dubbed, and the performances were still very fun, and I got into like a lot of the drama as you would imagine in a K drama. Um, and I enjoyed it enough that I wanted to watch it again with my sister and my mom because I know this is like something that's right up their alley. And we've been watching it again. Yeah, we've been watching it again, but this time dubbed in Spanish. And surprisingly, the Spanish dub is pretty good. Like I was kind of worried you would lose some of the original, I guess, intonations or I guess like vocal performances from the original cast, but no, it's still pretty good. It would the Spanish is pretty well done. I don't think I'm gonna try the English one, but regardless, yeah, fun show. Check it out. I think the only downside, which this is normal, this is just a me thing, but episodes are on average about an hour long, which I know is the norm, but that just feels so long. I think on average it would take me two different sittings to watch an episode. Like I would just watch in 30-minute chunks. It would have like little breaks, not breaks, but like there would be like a natural kind of halfway point that you could kind of stop at. But it's kind of rare that I can sit down for a full hour or something. And if I do, yeah, I don't know. If it's not a movie where the pacing is a little faster, this is a show, so it's taking its time. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just tough. But yeah, that's the crash course in romance. You should watch it, Jason. You might like it.
With a tangent. I feel like this is Tangents, the episode. Like we've been going on so many tangents. But yeah, that sounds like a fun little show. I was going to kind of weigh what we should talk about next, and then this is true. I am not making this up. 6 minutes ago, my mom Instagram DM'd me just the word video game. She has yet to follow it up with anything. I don't know what that's about, but I feel like it's signaling we should talk about the one video game we have on the docket.
Is
It's very strange
a
that
forced transition that you're like,
video
oh, I
game.
need something to move the thing along? My mom.
No, I'm just very perplexed by her sending me the word video game, and I wanted to bring it up, but I had no way to bring it up, so I tied it in. Yeah, I guess I was transitioning into the Instagram DM, not the next topic, but while I'm here, I might as well talk about A Little to the Left real quick. It's pretty brief impressions. It's a pretty small game. And then I think we have a actually pretty fun topic from Kevin that we can all participate in. I don't know why I feel like a school teacher today in particular. Okay, Little to the Left. So I mentioned when I was talking about the gold points that this was part of Nintendo's recent Supercharge sale. So I got it for only $5 instead of $15. This is pre the gold points even being applied. And just the juxtaposition of this sale, like all the marketing, it was supercharged, like electricity, lightning bolts, and all the key art. Like it was very like, yeah, supercharged. And then like directly next to the like big electric logo for supercharged is a little cute little, little game where you just cozily organize things in your house and there's a cat there. And that's what A Little to the Left is. So literally the game is you are just organizing things. There are 5 chapters. You each around a different theme of like tying up papers or more hardware-y things or even going outside and doing garden stuff. The game is very much a quote-unquote cozy game. Low stakes, no time limit, calm and chill graphics and music. You can do it you can tidy using either the touchscreen if you're playing in handheld mode, or if you're using it on the TV, you can use the joysticks to control a little cursor, and you just play at your own pace and tidy things up. Like even right down to like the hint system being kind of calm and chill, like and at your own pace. The way the hints work, if you can't figure one out, is you get a sketch that's scribbled over and you erase the scribbles only as much as you want to see the solution. So if you want the full solution, you just erase all the scribbles. You want some of the solution, you erase part of the scribbles. But it's all just kind of that like playing your own way thing. But I should specify, let's talk about the solution, right? One solution. A lot of these puzzles have multiple ways to solve them, like different ways to lay out bottles or books based on, different patterns or heights or flows or whatever. But from what I can tell, only one hint is provided. So even if you figure out the one way, there's no way to get an assist if you can't figure out the other way. And that there's not like a score system per se. The game's very chill, but you do earn a few stars per stage. If there are multiple solutions, you can earn multiple stars. And it can get, I'm not going to lie, for a chill game, it can get a bit frustrating if you're trying to go for like the completionist angle and just don't know what to do. And the game has no way to tell you because the cool little solutions erase the scribble thing only works for like one solution. And it's kind of honestly like an underlying thing with the game as a whole is like sometimes the puzzles are too abstract for their own good. There's been times I've found multiple ways to organize things that all make sense to me, but the game doesn't think it's how it should be organized. Or they'll have you organize something by heights and then suddenly you're doing that again in a different stage but with the same objects, but now it's by like the spine art of the book or something. Like there's no indication it's different. You just got to kind of like poke around until it makes sense, which again, no real score system, no real time limits, no big deal, but also for a game that's so like chill and cozy, it's not really ideal that you're like getting frustrated that nothing you're trying is actually working. One thing it does though that's quite nice is it mixes things up well, like quite literally. With a cat who comes in and like mixes things up, like he'll disrupt you, and even like mid puzzle when you're just like meticulously did something, he'll like come in and mess it back up, which adds a little like kind of like random chaos to it. But as a cat owner, I get it. Although to be fair, my two cats, they don't mess up things nearly as much as this guy in the game does. They barely touch our stuff, but it is kind of a fun mechanic, and they do slowly introduce the cat. So at first it's only messing things up on your results screen for a puzzle, and then gradually it starts doing stuff mid-game. But I do appreciate how, as weird as it sounds, the cat helps you think outside the box. Like sometimes I found I actually was taking a wrong approach. The cat comes in, and then I kind of stumble into another better approach. And that's a big thing here is like some of it is pretty standard household fare and like inside the box. But other times the puzzles dip into some more like unconventional ideas and almost have like a WarioWare but cozy vibe where you have to really think about the stuff presented to you in a way you don't typically think about it. Like there was one puzzle I remember early on with pictures that the pictures were already aligned on the wall straight, like perfectly straightened, but you needed to actually tilt them all horizontal so the horizon lines in the pictures became the straight lines instead. So it's that type of thing. We're like, yeah, that's not how you traditionally organize something, but there's some organizational logic to making the horizon straight, I guess. So I think it's that sort of like push and pull between stuff that just intuitively makes sense and stuff that maybe doesn't. That does, in fact, add some variety to what would otherwise be a pretty straightforward game. And while it can be annoying in the moment, at various times, like the game is so cozy and chill and easygoing. It lets you like really play at your own pace. Like if you don't like a puzzle, there's a menu option. It's not even called skip. It's called let it be, and it just like simply takes you to the next puzzle. No questions asked. You can always go back later. No pressure. Like everything else, a skip doesn't hurt your progress. It just play it how you want. Doesn't matter. So the whole thing is only like 3 or 4 hours long. To get like I think a whole 100% completion, which I have not gotten the whole 100%, but I don't know if I'm gonna go back because I can't figure out some of the solutions. But apparently the whole thing's only like 3 or 4 hours long if you do that. And then there is DLC as well that you can get. There are 2 DLC chapters. But for like $5, when I got as part of this sale, excluding the DLC costing extra, like that's a pretty nice experience. 3 or 4 hours, of this kind of charming cat infused puzzle game. Your mileage may vary. At the typical $15, it is only 3 or 4 hours. It can get a little frustrating, but I certainly have no regrets having this wholesome little title be, what Nintendo claimed would supercharge my Switch, even though it didn't in any real sense of the phrase. But yeah, it was a fun little, tiny little thing that, just a little something different and quaint to play on your Switch if you just need to have a few hours and want to do it. So those are my kind of brief, but really that's all there is to say impressions. What?
You didn't mind the taste.
The taste?
The taste?
The taste.
Yeah.
Am I eating it? What? I didn't mind the taste. Correct. Yeah. It was a sample size and I didn't mind the taste. Yes. But yeah, so that's literally all I had for Little to the Left because that's all there is. It's kind of self-explained. But I did want to give it a shout because it is, it was one of the de facto like indie world games of a few years ago. And I'm going to check it out. I'd throw it in here. But now let's Kevin, let's get you back into the mix a bit more. Also, side note, my mom still hasn't explained why she sent me the word video game.
Have you asked her,
Still no
or
idea.
you're just...
No, I'm just seeing how long it takes her to be like, why to follow that up. If she doesn't follow up by the end of the episode, I will ask in the next episode. I'll let you guys know what that was about, because I'm sure there'll be some sleepless nights for many a listener wondering why my mom just sent me video game. But in the meantime, Kevin, You had a fun topic idea. Would you like to introduce it?
Yeah, sure. So, like a lot of people, I've been watching Severance season 2. And Severance is known for its cliffhangers, but it also has some pretty good twists. And not that this newest episode had a twist, but for whatever reason, I was thinking about some of the twists that Severance has had so far, and it got me thinking, what were some of my favorite twists in media in general, whether it be video games, books, mangas, movies, TV shows, even music. I have an example of a twist in a song that I wouldn't mind speaking about. And it's a fairly recent song that causing this long chain of events that was felt all the way through the Super Bowl. So yeah, I want to kick it off.
I was gonna have
What?
a hard
Here,
time
let me
thinking
kick-
about one.
I'll kick it off.
With the music, please. I'm extremely intrigued.
Yeah, so there's this song in 2024, last year, called Like That. A song by a rapper called Future, with the beats made by I don't know, what would you call him? A producer, Metro Boomin.
Yeah, Metro Boomin's a producer. Yeah.
And about halfway in that song, Kendrick Lamar begins to rap, and calls out essentially Drake, and I always forget the other guy's name because he was smart enough to dip out of this diss track.
J. Cole.
J. Cole, yeah, where he calls both of them out, and it's probably one of the biggest twists in modern music, because J. Cole wasn't really going at Kendrick Lamar. He was like, "Hey, we're the three big like rappers right now," and Kendrick Lamar just comes out of nowhere on this song that no one knew that he was going to be on. Like, it's not like the song isn't called Like That featuring Kendrick Lamar. He's just on it. And yeah, drops that big, huge line that caused this entire rap war for the last year. I would consider that a twist.
I would say that's a twist. I will say that's actually something really fun that's been happening with rap in the last few years, is because streaming music is so not physically owned by anyone, like the artist still can control it. So like, we saw years ago that like Kanye was famous for this pre everything with The Life of Pablo, where he was like editing the songs after the album came out. But the thing that kind of seems to have landed more than doing that is putting out an album and not listing the features for the first like week and letting people discover them as they go. So stuff like the Kendrick moment can happen, and then only later on going back and adding them as the featured artist. So it's I've seen it like a lot across a lot of different albums, and it's fun. It makes the listening experience that like very communal, because everyone's like, you're listening along, or you're like reading along online while you're listening, and then you're just like, wait, what? Kendrick's here? And everyone, you look online, everyone's like, wait, what? Kendrick's here? So like, it's a cool experience. It's a really cool way to do like a listening party even without people physically with you.
Yeah. So I said we go around the room. Jason, what you got?
All right. I'm gonna start with my favorite, and then are we gonna do favorites first and then least favorites later?
Yeah, sure.
Type of thing. All right. So I'll start with favorite. I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't seen it. End of season 1, Mr. Robot. I mean, they were kind of alluding that might be the twist.
Yes. Not necessarily the
like,
last episode of season 1. I think it might have been the penultimate episode.
Yeah, it's the penultimate. Yeah, so second to last. But back part of season 1. Yeah, I am not a very emotive person when I'm watching things. Like if I'm in a group saying at like a comedy thing, I'll laugh out loud. But I don't usually like laugh out loud at the TV by myself. I don't usually like react strongly. I like sat straight up and I literally went, what? As it was happening in Mr. Robot. And that sealed it as one of my all-time favorite shows. It wasn't just that like the pieces came together in a way that led that twist to be like, oh, of course. But the way it was presented was just so good. Like it made it my favorite show. That moment made the whole show my favorite show, even though arguably some of the later seasons like weren't as strong, and then they got stronger again. Like it kind of ebbed and flowed. But like, nothing will top that. I've never had TV viewing experience quite like that. And I don't know if I ever will again. Like I very rarely have a visceral reaction to something like that. And it was really cool in the moment.
Interesting.
So again, I'm not gonna spoil it, but I really, and it's not like it was a twist some people saw coming, some people speculated, but yeah, just the execution of it was so good.
Mm-hmm. Angel, what about you?
So that's my pick.
I wish I had some good answers. I couldn't really think of anything. I just know I have experienced this feeling of like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, but I can't really pinpoint a very specific one. Like I know I felt that with like all the Ace Attorney games at one point or another. Like games is typically where I feel like I get hit with a twist the most, or where I feel like the most impact from it. Usually from TV shows and stuff. Like it's hard. It's weird. I could allow myself to get so immersed in a game that I can ignore something that could be considered very obvious or very telegraphed and just be completely in it and still be as surprised as if I, even if I had heard it or even if it was supposed to be obvious. But with a TV show or a movie, I feel like I can't help but overthink it, that when it does pop up, it tends to give me more of like oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh, okay. Or something like that.
Yeah.
That being said, though, and I don't even know if this really counts, but I'll use it anyway. I guess the movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the twist being that it was a good movie. I think
I like that. I like that.
I pretty much went in with like little to no expectations. Like I really just went in because it was animated. I want to watch it because it was an animated film. I don't think I necessarily went in going like, oh man, I need to watch the Spider-Man film. I enjoy Spider-Man enough, but I wouldn't consider myself enough of a fan to go out of my way to watch something like that. And in addition to that, it wasn't even like my pick to go watch it. It was because I went with someone else, and that was what they wanted to watch. And it was like, all right, yeah, I'll check it out. Like it's an animated film, and it kind of blew my mind that I just like not just like liked it, but really, really loved it. And that definitely left me feeling like, oh my god, like I can't believe a Spider-Man movie could be that good and about these characters that I knew nothing about. I didn't know anything about Miles Morales before going into this, outside of the fact that he existed, and which I guess, like the beginning of the movie, I didn't know. I think I barely saw any marketing for it. If not, I think I only saw the first teaser, so I didn't know anything about the story going in. So the fact that the first Spider-Man you follow is the Christopher Pine one, I think that's Chris Pine.
Yep,
Yeah,
you
that
got
sounds right.
Chris Pine. Yep.
And the fact that like, he gets out of the picture pretty quickly, and you get the other Spider-Man like that. I thought that like that caught me by surprise. I was like, wait, what? Like that actually happened? We're not gonna follow this Spider-Man. We're gonna get this other Spider-Man from apparently that one show. The girl next door.
New girl. Jake Johnson. New girl.
Yeah. So like that.
Yeah,
so that caught me by surprise, and yeah, that was go with that. The quality of that movie. I mean, almost like to a lesser extent, the second Gurren Lagann movie. I think just like things surpassing my expectations are like what I usually find like the biggest twist. I'll find one that's more directly. I'll see if I could think of something before we're done that is more traditionally a better answer, but I'll give you that for now.
All right.
Let me ask you a side question, actually. Do you find it more gratifying when something like that happens and you go in with no expectation and you're pleasantly surprised? Or do you find it more gratifying when you have like insane levels of hype for something and it meets those levels of hype?
Oh, when I go in with no expectations, for sure, every time. If something meets the hype,
yeah,
that could be very. I mean, that could obviously be very great, and it's hard not to. It actually is kind of rare. I mean, Rhythm Heaven is probably one of the few examples I could think of where I could say I experienced that in particular. Like, oh, like this met my expectations. Like, like, oh, because I already loved the heck out of Rhythm Heaven, and each one that comes out always tops the last one. So when the new one tops the one before it, even though it's better and I enjoyed it more, it's not making more like, whoa, that was so mind blowingly good. It was more like, oh, thank God. they kept the quality. Like, this is still good.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Versus something like Donkey Kong Country Returns, it's like, oh man, I don't know if this is gonna like get me to love it as much as, you know, the OG Donkey Kong Countries. And then Returns ended up being like such a tight, really good platformer that it made me go like, oh my god, that was really, really good. I freaking love this game. And you know, when Tropical Freeze was announced, I'm like, oh man, is it gonna be more of the same? That they hopefully they can still keep some of that magic. Like, no, they still had a bunch of ideas. This was freaking awesome. So yeah, depends on the game. Mario right now, expectations are now kind of brought back down because Odyssey brought them down. So they have a better chance of surprising me with the new whatever they do in the next Mario. But hope that answers your question.
I will say there's a hype sweet spot for me, at least, when if I'm very excited about something and it delivers, I don't know, I'm in like a zone, like a euphoric zone. Like I feel like to some extent, I know it wasn't a perfect movie, but in terms of what it's out to do, like, or what I wanted to do, like the Mario movie did that for me. Linkin Park's From Zero did that for me, like recently. And it's just, you get in this like, I don't know. It's like you're in like kind of like a group, like it's like in sports when they're on like a hot streak. I feel like I'm in that as a fan when things line up. The Dark Knight when it came out, like there's just like this like mode I get in. I don't know. Like surprises are nice, but there's something about like that, like all the build up paying off is really fun in and of itself.
Oh, you know what? It's funny. A Crash Course in Romance had a twist at some point in it that I did not see coming and did catch me by surprise. I was actually, yeah, I was pretty surprised that this is.
Yeah, but did you really? Would you say it's one of your favorite twists?
I would say so right now, just because I can't think of any of the twists that like, because yeah, like I mean, even if I go to Disney movies that I really love, like Coco, like I don't know. But was it a great twist that what's his face was evil? It's like, yeah, it was kind of like, oh, okay, this is. Well, I think by that point Disney has just.
I haven't seen Coco, but I'm assuming the big guy.
Like yeah, like, I'm sure you already can imagine what I'm talking about. But like Disney has done so many twist villains, and like, it felt like every movie had to have a twist villain in one form or another. That it kind of took the wind a little bit out of those things. I still enjoyed the heck out of the movie, but it wasn't like a great, amazing twist. I'm trying to think of. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe just the fact I don't know. Yeah, I wish I could think of one, but.
Okay, well, I've got one in that case.
I mean, it's funny.
Yeah, music, Kevin.
I won't spoil anything because I don't want to spoil anything for Severance, but I think on the first episode of the second season, my sister just kind of like immediately blurted out like what she just assumed to be the case for. They're like, oh,
and it was the case, yeah.
And then they revealed it like I think in the second to last episode. I don't know, something like that. And it was that. And as soon as she implanted that thought, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So then it kind of like made me go, oh yeah, that makes sense. So there was like no, there was nothing to be surprised about.
There's a drip feed of clues from the first episode without spoiling what we're talking about. For those who know, if you know, you know. There's a drip feed of clues from that episode on that kind of like when the twist happened, I was like, yep, that lines up with the clues. Like it didn't feel as much of a twist as much as it was like if you were paying attention, you might have caught it happening, sort of thing to me. But I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, that twist reveal was the thing that got me thinking about
that
this.
Started all this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what about you, Ken? What's on your list? Besides like that.
My favorite TV twist so far of all time is the third season finale of Succession. The betrayal that a character does.
Oh,
is
I know what
one
you're
of the
about. That was
one
good.
of the only times that like Jason, I don't like ever really emote. And spoil. I don't know if I should spoil it if you haven't seen Succession, but it was one of those moments of like, wait, who did that? And then you see who did that, and you're like, oh my god, this is
you son of a gun.
Oh my god. And
That was one that actually got a reaction from me. I forgot about that, but like Rachel and I kind of looked at each other like mouth agape, like, oh man. Yeah.
it's one of the most like it's probably one of the it is the best twist in Successions for sure. Like I was just
for sure. In
watching
Succession, yeah.
I was just watching Connor's wedding, and that also has a pretty big twist in the middle of the episode. But and I mean, Connor's wedding is probably one of the best episodes of TV of all time. But I don't think that twist like holds a candle to that the final 30 seconds of season 3 of Succession. Yeah,
and just everyone's faces, and yeah, it was a good. And the way it was shot with like that hallway, yeah, it was a good. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that's up there. It's no Mr. Robot. Like I said, I rarely emote, but that's probably that got a reaction.
The Mr. Robot, I feel like would have landed higher for me if I hadn't seen it coming. Like I saw that coming a mile away.
Yeah, it wasn't like I think I even said what I was saying. Like it wasn't even so much because like if you're paying attention, you can kind of pick up. It was more just how they delivered it. Like with the mirror and the scene and all that. Yeah. I was really like, yeah, what? This is happening. Okay.
All right.
But yes, it wasn't the biggest secret in that show either.
Yeah. Do you have any twist that you aren't that fond of?
I like recent example. I don't remember a lot. Like there haven't been bad twists that left a bad taste in my mouth, but there are some recent things I've been watching where it's like, oh, all right. So I got 2 I can mention. One was I don't know if you guys know about this shoe. I don't know if you guys know about this sneaker. No, I don't know if you know about this show Paradise that's on Hulu right now. It stars Sterling K. Brown. It's from the creator of This Is Us, but it's basically a show that they marketed as Sterling K. Brown plays the like security detail head security guy for the president, who's played by James Marsden of, Sonic the Hedgehog fame and nothing else. Not Cyclops, not Jerry Dewey, just Sonic. And the whole marketing for this show has been set up around like, oh, there's some deep secret about like something the president's done or doing, and then it's Sterling K. Brown and it's his security and he's kind of in on it and what's going on, and that's how it's marketed. So Rachel X This Is Us a lot. I was intrigued by the like political espionage angle that they seem to be going for. So I'm like, all right, I'll check it out. And I'm just gonna. Are you guys ever gonna watch the show? I might just spoil it.
I'm never gonna watch
the show. It's
the
the first.
Okay, which one?
It's the first episode. So I'm just gonna say it's called Paradise on Hulu.
Oh,
no!
I just remembered my favorite twist. I'll say that after.
Wait. Okay. I thought he was gonna say, "Oh."
As soon as he said that, for some reason, it just all came back to me. I'm like, "Oh no, yeah, this is definitely my favorite twist of all time, easily."
Hold that thought. Okay, so Paradise, end of season 1. So the whole episode,
don't spoil it.
Like something's up. There's something weird. Slight spoiler: if you're watching Paradise, you have any interest, skip ahead about 45 seconds. The show ends up not being set in like normal America. What you learn by the end of the episode is the president, who is murdered in the first episode, by the way, has moved due to some outside sci-fi-ish thing that we're still learning, a bunch of people into an underground city. So the show's set up like a normal political thriller, and then at the very end it zooms out and they're actually in this like dome thing, and it's suddenly like a sci-fi show, even though it was originally set up not as a sci-fi show. And the way they deliver it and handle that reveal is actually pretty slick. Like there's some like kind of Truman Show-esque like oddities to the town as you're like getting to know the characters, but they keep it very straight, very like, yeah, it's about the president, there's some secret, something political, he's killed, and then they're like, surprise, it's actually a sci-fi show. And I thought of sorts, and I thought that was really well done. I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay, I'm in. Every single plot point that has happened since, Rachel predicted before it happened. Every single one. So they had this great, huge twist that wasn't like, it didn't make me like audibly, freak out like Mr. Robot or to a lesser extent Seven. But I was like, okay, this is cool. They're doing something different. They swerved with the marketing entirely. And then it's just like the most like obvious plot twist. And it's just such a weird contrast. And the show's not bad, but it's very like, it's TVMA, it's like edgy, but really it's like the type of like twisty show you'd see on like NBC or CBS or ABC. Like there's, I could see some loose comparisons to like kind of like the era of like when like after Lost or all those other shows that were like, oh, we got to do like a show with a lot of twisty things and kind of a sci-fi vibe. So
Right.
That's what it kind of feels like now. But it's just so strange that it like landed that first twist so well, and the marketing was so perfectly adapted to hide the twist. And then just nothing afterwards was at all unique. So I thought that was kind of odd. Not necessarily bad, just a weird like build up to standard fare. I don't know how better to describe it. So that kind of threw me in a loop.
Okay.
Should I say I guess I could say the second one too. The second one's the opposite problem, actually, now that I think about it. Captain America, Brave New World. Not exactly a twist, but I saw it yesterday. It's fine. I enjoyed it. Like, it's very stitched together. You could tell they did a bunch of reshoots. Whatever. It's fine. Marvel's trying to find their footing. It's fine. Red Hulk is in all the marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The entire movie builds up to, like, what's going on with Harrison Ford's president character? What's going on with Ross? Like, what is he... What's the secret? What is all this? And then the last, like, the big climax is like, oh, he's Red Hulk. And I'm just like, if the marketing didn't spoil that fact, and you didn't know from the start, and I wasn't going to the movie theater, driving past a bus with Red Hulk on it, going down an escalator with Red Hulk on it, going through a lobby with Red Hulk on the floor. Like, if I didn't see the Red Hulk stuff, if they didn't market it that hard, it would have actually elevated the movie, because like they were kind of dropping clues, and there's a lot of callbacks to the Incredible Hulk movie specifically, and like there's a lot of like little bits and pieces that like you could piece together. Wait, is he gonna Hulk out? Like, is this happening? Except we know, because that's been the entire focus of the marketing. So like it's building up to like nothing in a way.
Yeah, they clearly
like, you're just kind of waiting for it to happen.
They clearly had no confidence in this movie.
And it sucks, because I know part of the reason they didn't have confidence is like the new Captain America, Anthony Mackie, it's a black Captain America. There's a part of the country that like can't wrap their head around that. So they had to like counterbalance that by like making Hulk a bigger focus. They had to counterbalance the fact that, Marvel's at a lower point than they were with the other Captain Americas. Chris Evans has a whole, a huge fan following. Anthony Mackie, I don't think, has that same following. Like there's a lot they had to counterbalance. So they had to do Red Hulk. I understand MCU is a cog in the corporate machine of Disney, and they had to make merch and stuff of Red Hulk, and there's a lot of moving pieces. But an example of Disney being willing to go with it to keep the secret, when Grogu was first introduced in The Mandalorian, where we all met Baby Yoda at the end of the first episode of Mandalorian, which was a fun little reveal. They hid all the merch. They didn't market it as him being a character. Jon Favreau convinced Disney, you know what? Just promote it as a show about a Boba Fett-like dude, like a Mandalorian. And then we're going to just drop this on people. And it worked, and Baby Yoda became a whole phenomenon. And then they rolled out the merch, like within like a few weeks after that. But they did or maybe a month after that, but they did a really good job of kind of like keeping the thing for the sake of the show. And I feel like this is the example of the opposite. Like what Hulu did right with Paradise, its sister arm at Marvel Studios did wrong with promoting, or wrong from the movie standpoint, not from the marketing standpoint, of promoting Red Hulk as heavily as they did. So that was kind of a letdown. It's not like he was a big twist. You could probably figure it out halfway through, especially if you know your comic books. But the buildup was totally anticlimactic, because we already knew. And they show him in the trailers, right? He's only in the movie for like 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So you see like half of the fight already in trailers. So that was kind of... The rest of the movie was fine, though. But that definitely kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. I was just like, man, what a missed opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So those are my two. They're not my all-time, but they're ones I've recently experienced that spring to mind. So.
All right, Angel.
Yeah. What's up?
What's your favorite
you remembered?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, The Good Place.
I feel like you forgot.
I had...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I love The Good Place.
Yeah.
Definitely, probably my favorite, I guess, like, live-action story show, because it's not like a sitcom. It's just, I don't even know what to call these. Just a show?
It's a sitcom,
comedy. It's a comedy. It's a sitcom with no laugh track, yeah.
Yeah, like, it's just up there with, like, some of my all-time favorite, like, just pieces of media, because, damn, I just love the story, love the character, love the themes, but I am so surprised and shocked that its biggest twist wasn't spoiled for me, because it was already around before I started watching it for, like, a couple of years, and I remember going into, I guess, like, a Good Place Cafe with Jason at Comic-Con. And this was still, like, well before I actually started watching it as well. And
He gave us ice cream.
Yeah, and I remember, yeah, just like not catching on to anything. Either I just missed it, or I don't remember, or whatever. But yeah, at the end of the first season, like I just love that the first season literally is just like you have this premise. Character went to heaven. They're like, oh no, I don't belong here. Clearly, I wasn't meant to go to heaven because I was a pretty terrible person. And then like stuff comes out, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. I just didn't see it coming. Like I said, this was yeah. I guess it is kind of rare that I would get so invested in the show that I'll miss any flags. So when the final episode hit and they revealed like what was going on, like it definitely got me. I think it was one of those like oh my god, and that made it all the more satisfying. I love that twist. Jesus, I can't believe I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's a great twist.
That was a good one. Yeah, I totally forgot
Yeah, and
about
it
that
kind of like
too.
set the
That was a
precedent
good
for
one
like
for
the rest of
sure.
the show. Like, oh, where do you go from there? They're just gonna kind of spin its wheels, and they kind of just find a creative ways to keep it going. But then they also don't overstay its welcome. It ends when it needs to end. Maybe there was one season toward the end that felt like a little rushed, but yeah, otherwise, damn, freaking love that show. That was amazing. That was a great twist.
If you like that show and you like the work of Mike Schur, who did that show, he has a new show on Netflix that also stars Ted Danson.
Oh, I love Ted
A Man on
Danson's
the Inside. He has
performance.
to,
Yeah, he was
yeah,
great.
Man on the Inside. He has to infiltrate a retirement home. I forget the reason, but he's undercover in a retirement home. And there's apparently, I still need to watch it, but there's apparently a bunch of Good Place cameos as well as a couple Brooklyn Nine-Nine cameos, which are all, the Mike Schur verse, if you will. And Mike Schur, by the
Sure.
way, it'll tie into something later, wrote on SNL. A lot of these people trace back to SNL. Anyway, yeah, Good Place had a good twist.
Yeah, great twist. I want to end it off with one of my. I don't necessarily know if I would call this my least favorite twist. It's a doozy. Okay, so maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, I went to the theater with your brother Angel, Elvis, and our friend Matthew. They invited me to the theaters to just watch some random movie that like we knew nothing about because I think there was like nothing in theaters that we wanted to watch. Like that was whatever the blockbuster of the week that week. But anyways, they chose this movie called Serenity. Going into it completely blind. So, Serenity is this thriller, and at this point, this pretty much going to be a movie recap because I need to explain all of this for the twist to even come close to making sense. So, Serenity is a thriller that came out, like I said, maybe about 7, 8, 9 years ago. I don't remember. But it starts with Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway as the two leads. So, in the movie, Matthew McConaughey plays like a fisherman in this weirdly, I don't know, this, I can't tell where this island is supposed to be at. It's like vaguely Spanish, but everybody speaks English. I have no idea. But in the movie, he's banging Diane Lane from time to time, and she gives him money. Now that I'm thinking about that Diane Lane part actually doesn't fit anywhere. But I just remember Diane Lane is in it. Anyways. So Anne Hathaway shows up at the island, and she's actually Matthew McConaughey's ex-wife. And she's like, hey, I need you to kill my current husband because he's physically abusing me. And the husband is played by, I forget this actor's name, but I really like him. He played John Connor in one of the most recent Terminator movies. Did you guys ever watch
Matthew
Everest?
Broderick.
No, not even close. Did either of you guys see that Everest movie?
I don't think
The Mount Everest
so.
movie? Okay, I'll have to look it up after this.
I'm gonna while you're describing the movie, I will look up the actor.
Okay, so
like,
anyways,
you have to get Jason Clarke.
Jason Clarke, yeah, it's Jason Clarke.
I would have evoked Planet of the Apes if it were me. But
I forgot that he was in the second Planet of the Apes. But yeah. Jason Clarke, solid actor.
Oh yeah.
So he's playing,
and we share first names.
Yeah, so
cool.
he's playing Anne Hathaway's abusive husband, and for the entire movie, she's like, "I'll give you like $1 million or whatever, so that he can like leave this island or whatever the hell, because he's got to bang Diane Lane to make ends meet. That's why I brought Diane Lane up. There we go. It's all coming together. Anyways, so for the entire movie, Matthew McConaughey is like pondering whether to kill Jason Clarke. But at the same time, there's like this weird guy in a suit that is like popping up around the island, and he's doing weird things. Like if I remember in the trailer, like he just walks into the ocean at one point, and the salesman is carrying like the suitcase with him. And then at some point, I think this is maybe about like 60% into the movie, Matthew McConaughey finally confronts this weird dude in the suit, and he's telling him, "Hey, why are you following me?" And the guy in the suit goes, "Oh, I'm not like a stalker or anything. Like I'm just a salesman." And then he goes, "All right, what are you trying to sell me?" And he brings up the suitcase, and the suitcase isn't actually a suitcase. It's like this retro futuristic, like weird sonar monitor that has like a big ass dial on it. That when you flip the dial, it'll show you like what type of fish is nearby. It's really weird. But during this, the businessman reveals to Matthew McConaughey that he's in a game. What kind of game? Just straight up a video game. And it's revealed that Matthew McConaughey is a video game character who is in a video game that was developed by his son in the movie's real world, because Matthew McConaughey died in Iraq.
Wait, what?
And the son created this video game and his dad in the game as a way to like escape the harsh reality that his new stepdad is abusing his mom.
Oh my God. Wow.
And that is the twist is Matthew McConaughey is a video game character the entire time.
To have that just dropped on you out of nowhere. Did they? And they didn't market it that way, right? They marketed it as just like
they marketed it like as an erotic thriller. Like it's really strange.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
wow.
And like I remember reading that the movie had a twist, but an insane twist at that. But like I didn't read into it just because I was like, oh, that's interesting. But I don't really care for Matthew McConaughey or Anne Hathaway. But then I just happened to go see the movie that same day that I was reading on it. Matthew and Elvis are like, "Hey, you want to go see this movie with us?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And then Matthew McConaughey does end up killing Jason Clarke in the game, and while he does that, you see the son playing the video game in the real world, and you hear Anne Hathaway getting like beat in the other room. And the son pulls out like a knife from a cabinet and kills Jason Clarke in the movie's real world.
Wow, okay.
And then the movie ends with the son reuniting with Matthew McConaughey in the game. But I don't know if that's like the Matthew McConaughey like thinking the video game Matthew McConaughey thinking about his son. It's so weird. And like I said, I don't know if I hated the twist because of just how batshit insane it is, but it was something, man.
That's It's something about
Jeremy
this
Strong's in the movie.
Me. Is he real?
Oh my God, he's the guy in the business suit. He's the guy that reveals that Matthew McConaughey is in the video game. Oh my God, it's Jeremy Strong. God damn it! It just made it.
Speaking of Jeremy Strong, for a guy who has developed a reputation of being way too method for his own good.
Jeremy Strong Serenity.
Props to him for being the butt of that joke in a Super Bowl ad. Like he has some self-awareness, at least. He's great as Kendall Roy, but it was nice to see him have the self-awareness in whatever Super Bowl ad that was.
Oh my God. Yeah, Serenity. Jesus Christ. This movie flopped like crazy, man. It makes sense.
Something about you describing this movie made me think of Sunshine and the twist in Sunshine, which is not a video game twist. Have you ever seen Sunshine? I don't want to spoil
I have seen Sunshine. I love that movie.
Yeah, just like the genre switch up that happens essentially is, yeah. And that was when I went into blind. Like that was when one of our friends at college was working at a movie theater. Or no, it was when I was in high school and we were just like, maybe it was college. I don't remember. But basically, let's just see this random movie. No idea what we were getting into. And that twist at the end, that like back third, like that climax was, whoa, out of nowhere. Great movie. Yeah.
Can't say the same about Serenity.
That's okay. They can't all be winners.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my topic for the week.
That was a fun topic. I dropped it when we were talking about Mike Schur, but I do want to. You guys know I love me some SNL, and let me just tell you, I know the Super Bowl happened, but my Super Bowl has been the last weekend where there's like a bajillion SNL things going on. They celebrated their 50th anniversary. They had a 3-hour 50th anniversary, actually 3.5-hour 50th anniversary special. They also had 2 nights before a live streamed 3+ hour concert at Radio City called the Homecoming Concert. And then they also had a 3-hour music documentary about the music ins and outs of SNL with an amazing montage opening that Questlove edited together. It was like a DJ set. It was like a mashup of all these different artists, but he like made it like it was like visual. It was like their performances, but it was also like a DJ mix. It was really cool. And then separate from that, they had a 4-part documentary series called Beyond Saturday Night that focuses on like the audition process and a week in the writing room and like how the show comes together and like the rise and fall or the rise and rise of the popular Need More Cowbell skit. And then one episode was about like the year that Lorne Michaels, the SNL creator, came back after leaving for a few years and had like the most horrible year ever of the show and like fired the whole cast, literally burned them alive as a skit at the end. I mean, not literally, but figuratively. There's a skit where the entire cast burned to death at the end of the season because he fired them all. There's just so much content. Never mind the Lonely Island, Seth Meyers podcast I mentioned a few episodes ago. It's been a great time to be an SNL fan, and I was trying to figure out like what it is about SNL that I'm so like into, because I feel like every time I'm like, oh, all this SNL stuff, people I know, like I know you've said it before, Kevin, and I have another friend that said it the other day, are just like, like the only person I know that cares. Like, why? And there's clearly an audience, but I came to realize,
I don't know
and
about
it's something
clearly,
that
but
like,
I know there is one.
what? Oh yeah, no, yes, okay, there is a big audience. It got like 15 million viewers. The 50th anniversary thing. Anyway, what I came to realize is something you said earlier in the episode, Angel, about like what would I do if the zeitgeist like stopped, if culture just stopped. I think what I like about SNL so much is how much it's like kind of a reflection of what's going on in pop culture. Like watching all the documentaries and watching the anniversary special and watching like the way they're like mixing and matching different generations, the way they had like someone like Paul Simon, who's in like one of the first episodes performing a song with Sabrina Carpenter, who's like the newest it girl in pop, and just like that bridging they kept doing with different returning characters and different cast members. And growing up watching it and seeing where those cast members have gone, be it like Bill Hader doing Barry, even though I always will love him for Stefan, my all-time favorite SNL character, or like the Lonely Island guys doing their thing and then leaving and then kind of like coming back to that like music comedy digital short thing. Yeah, I think what's pretty cool about SNL is it like it's not just like a show that happens, it's like a reflection of what's going on and a reflection of what at least I'm into a lot of the time. And then as I've kind of carried on, the people that I've watched have kind of carried on. Then there's like a new crop of people, but then sometimes the old people come back with the new people, and it's kind of this mix and match. And not every skit is funny, and not everything lands. And even in the 50th anniversary special this past Sunday, like it was nostalgic and it was cool to see the mixing and matching, but not every joke landed. You know, SNL is always kind of ups and downs, but just like it's this like institution of pop culture, and as a pop culture like maven, it's always been like really fascinating to me. So it's been a very fun couple weeks. If you have any interest in SNL, all these documentaries are really well done. The music one is especially well done. The concert is fun. They do a live Lonely Island song medley with Lady Gaga and T-Pain and Eddie Vedder and Chris Parnell. And yeah, so they do that. And then it's a lot to consume, and it's been really fun. And that's, I guess, all I really wanted to say. But just like, because I've been trying to rack my brain ever since Kevin, when I was talking about SNL back in December, you're like, or maybe not even December, but at some point you're just like, why? Like, why do you? So I finally figured it out after like watching 12+ hours of SNL content over the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, it's, I don't know, something about that show, and so many people I'm a fan have come out of it. I mean, Conan was a writer there, and he's like my all-time favorite comedy person. So, yeah, that's all I really want to say about SNL 50. But I just, taking a moment to reflect on a milestone.
What did Chevy Chase do anything?
He at the very end was just kind of on stage.
Okay, gotcha.
For the good night.
Yeah, because I saw the ad where they had everybody's like names.
There's a lot of that's the other interesting thing about SNL is there's also a very weird like because it's live. There's like kind of this like not playing with fire, but like you're tuning in, not fully knowing what's gonna happen. And when cast members break and start cracking up, that's always entertaining. But even stuff like Chevy Chase was listed as someone who would like do something. He didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Dana Carvey apparently was gonna be in a few skits, but he got really. I just was reading today he had a really bad flu and had to pull out of SNL at the last second for the 50th. So they had to bring in other people. So just like kind of like playing with fire live on TV, like what's gonna happen? Is it gonna work out? Like that's also some of the charm of it for me. I think is because you're seeing like. It's not polished. It's not clean. It's not always like perfect at all. There's a lot of peaks and valleys. But there's just something about.
Have you seen Saturday Night?
Not yet, but I really want.
Yeah, I really want to too.
We should make a round Nintendo movie night and do it and talk about it here.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd be down to. Yeah, it's on Netflix now.
It is
a week or two ago.
Oh, I might just say it with
I
might just say it with Eddie.
Fine, be that way. Yeah, I may just watch it here anyway. But I gotta keep the SNL high. I mean, now that everything's over with the 50th done, gotta keep fueling it. Need my hit. But yeah, it was just. It was a fun time. Like it's one of those things. I mean, not the same scale as like the Mario movie or Linkin Park coming back, but it's one of those things that's like. I feel like it was like rewarding my fandom because so many of the things in the special were like inside joke or not inside jokes, but like references to other things. And me being able to sit there and go, oh, that's the Debbie Downer's character from like 2002. And like she said a line she said then that broke the whole cast and she broke Jimmy Fallon again. Like I get the reference. I see why they said that. Like it's weird little things like that where it's just like it's rewarding in a strange way. So happy anniversary, SNL. That was all I had on that. And I think. Unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about, that might be it for this episode.
I think that'll be it.
2 hours. This is twice as long as Angel's attention span for any TV show. I come to realize. So, Angel, thanks for sticking it out.
What?
Oh, and I guess it wasn't too long for his attention. I guess his attention span already gave up on him. Also, I have an answer. I don't want people to go sleepless the next 2 weeks.
In
My
Seattle?
mom sent me the word video game. Because she also sent me a video about Ralph Baer and the game he made back in the day that she saw on Instagram.
Who's
and
Ralph
just
Baer?
thought I'd be interested. He created one of the very first games. I want to say he made Asteroid back on that computer or whatever. I think it was Asteroid, right? That was the first game, right?
Asteroid?
Back on that computer in the 50s. Or the equivalent of Asteroid, like where you're just like a little ship spinning around. There's asteroids coming from every angle. It might have been called something else. What was it called back then? Yeah, it basically became Asteroid later on, but let's look it up real quick. He's considered the father of video games. He made what eventually became like the Atari control setup with like but I'm trying to find if it was Asteroid. What did he call it? Astroneer, maybe.
Guess that.
But for all intents and purposes, it was Asteroid.
Well, all right.
Yeah, so there you go. We got a little history lesson courtesy of my mom. But anyway, that does it for this episode. If you want more history lessons via us from my mom, you can make sure to not miss a future episode by subscribing to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio. We are on YouTube at Ram Nintendo. We are also individually on the internet if you want to hear our thoughts on things or see me gush about SNL or what have you, or sit behind the weekend update desk. I did that the other day. Well, a replica across the country in LA 20 minutes before the show aired. But anyway, you can do all that on our various channels. I am JSR7 on Twitter and Threads. Angel is World of Weros on Instagram, and Kevin is KVN Gomi on Twitter and Blue Sky. So with that, fight amongst yourselves for the last word.
Oh no, Angel wins. Yay.